Hello again. Welcome to Mini Lecture 2.2. In this mini lecture we will be talking about seizing opportunities and transforming to capture these opportunities across borders. Remember that innovation can emerge from anywhere. As you watch the video, think about where innovation might manifest.
But what do we mean by sensing, and what do we mean by transforming? Well,
I apologize for Emilio. I think you will be hearing a lot more from me because he obviously doesn't know how to speak. He means seizing.
in the context of international entrepreneurship and the dynamic capabilities framework, we are here. So when we talk about seizing, in the simplest sense, we can think about seizing as starting our venture to capture whatever opportunity we have identified. Now, practically, doing this involves committing the resources we have at our disposal to construct a business model within our means and actually start our business. But how do we know what is within our means in an uncertain or in a risky context? How do we make the future that we want to see? Now, recall from mini lecture 5.1, when we talked about seizing opportunities, we are also talking about navigating risk and uncertainty. So here we have a 2x2 matrix of strategic thinking, bounded by prediction on the y-axis and control on the x-axis. And I would like to draw your attention to the top left box, causal logics, and the bottom right box, effectual logics. And these are two key processes that we see entrepreneurs engaging in when they strategically determine how to commit resources that are available to them. So Dr. Sara Sarasvati is the most prominent promoter of this view, and she is continuing her work now regarding these entrepreneurial logics, but I thought that it would be good to just put here on the bottom her seminal work from 2001. Now, from Dr. Sarasvati's view, we can differentiate these logics or ways of thinking strategically by their starting points. So from an effectuation perspective, we begin with a certain means and make do with what is available to us. By contrast, a causation perspective begins with the end in mind. So a prime example of this and these two perspectives is cooking. So let's say you want to make dinner, but you don't really know exactly what you want. You know you want food, but you don't know exactly what type of food you want. So you go into your kitchen and you look in your cabinets, you look into your fridge, and you make a meal based on what you find. Now, this is an effectual process. So making do with what you have. Now, let's say you do know what you want. You want lasagna. And lasagna requires you to get certain ingredients like lasagna noodles, ricotta cheese, things you might not have just sitting around. Excuse me. Now, that would require you to make a list of any other ingredients you might need. You then have to go to the store to buy those ingredients. And we can see this as a causal process. So you have a specific goal in mind and you work to collect the resources that you need, having identified what it is that you need to meet this specific goal. Now, ultimately, within the context of entrepreneurial behavior, these two logics are a way for us to move forward while thinking forward. Now, remember that entrepreneurs and acting entrepreneurially involves having an eye towards the future. Now, causal logics are helpful in those contexts where future is uncertain. So our future is uncertain, but we do have a specific goal from which we can determine best ways to achieve them. Now, effectual logics are helpful when we are faced with what's called Knightian uncertainty, which is also often referred to as unknowable unknowns. And this means that there is a lack of prior information or understanding that would allow us to construct some sort of metric for predictability. And for this reason, predictability becomes much less relevant than what we do have at our disposal. Now, in the context of opportunity and seizing, it is often operating within the context of created opportunities where we see effectuation being most prevalent. So what do we mean by transforming? Well, within the context of our dynamic capabilities framework, we are now here. And transforming refers to building or to reconstructing a business in order to best seize. So here we can really see the manifestation of our strategic behavior, be that effectuation or causation. Now, often we actually see that entrepreneurs adopt a hybrid of both strategic behaviors, so causation and effectuation processes. And this is known as a partial patchwork approach. And particularly within the context of transforming for internationalization, this patchwork approach is very suitable. Now, this approach views entrepreneurial actions as reflecting effectual logics on one hand, wherein they rearrange traditional relationships between individuals and the elements of their environment to create new opportunities for change, while on the other hand, they adopt causal logics to the extent that their stock of available capital or resources, so whether that's things like social capital, financial capital, intellectual capital, their stock of capital provides a level of predictability and reduced uncertainty surrounding potential outcomes of their decision-making process. So, for example, we know that businesses are dynamic and there are various moving parts. We know that our business model is made up of our value architecture, is made up of our revenue model, is made up of our value proposition. So let's just take our Echelon and Pure Gym example, and we'll go back to the previous slide in a moment. But let's for now take our Echelon and Pure Gym example from a bit of an abridged example. So part of our value proposition as Echelon is that we are targeting a customer segment who are more cardio inclined, prefer to work out alone, prefer to work out at home, or just don't have time to go work out in gyms. Now, let's say we have identified an international market, let's just say Australia, arbitrarily, and it turns out that Australians love themselves some cardio, but they also love themselves some collective experience, so working out in groups. And we have identified that it is a market that is also averse to the price of the Echelon bike. Recall the average is about 800 pounds. So how can we transform to capture this market with what we as Echelon have at our disposal? Well, causally, we can begin to predict that our current model, so selling the Echelon bikes and also selling the monthly digital exercise classes, may have a lower probability of success in our pseudo Australian market. Again, bear in mind, I've just chosen Australia arbitrarily, and I have actually no idea if these are actual consumer trends. So just bear that in mind. So we can then think to ourselves, okay, what do we do with the resources at our disposal, and how do we transform to succeed in the market? Well, we might choose to alter our delivery model by perhaps changing and making tweaks to our value architecture to best capture the collective intentions of our potential users, so the group exercise people. Perhaps we can work with existing brick and mortar gyms to sell them Echelon bikes rather than directly to our end users. Perhaps we decide to transform the service aspect of our model, so the digital classes, and only deliver the digital classes to existing gyms or athletic clubs. So instead of people buying the bikes, they can still go into brick and mortar, they can still do collective, cardio classes, but they're doing them through our Echelon courses or our Echelon classes. So we can see that by incorporating this partial patchwork quilt approach, it can allow us to either realign aspects of our business model to be more appropriate within a new context, or we could even begin investing in new capabilities. For example, if we, as Echelon, decided to open up our own brick and mortar cycling studio in, let's say, Bondi Beach to try and capture, a younger and international demographic who do want to engage in cardio fitness or engage in, let's say, spin classes with others. So as you move forward, and you've heard me say this before, I said it in the last mini lecture, I'm going to keep saying it. You're probably going to get very, very annoyed with me by the end of this module. But when we talk about transforming, when we talk about thinking and behaving strategically and using our resources, whether we adopt this effectuation process or this causation process, as it pertains to innovation and where innovation might emerge, remember that innovation can emerge from anywhere in your business. It can emerge from somewhere within your value architecture. It can emerge from somewhere within your value proposition. Are you, for example, reaching a new customer segment? Are you providing people with something that they didn't even know they needed, and once they've learned that this is an option, it's something that they desire? Are you innovating within your revenue model? Have you identified new potential revenue streams? So as you move forward in your assessments, as you prepare for writing your reports, remember that when we talk about our business and when we talk about innovating and we talk about internationalizing within our business, just because, for example, a market you might want to enter into is not a blue ocean market does not necessarily mean that you cannot capture a significant aspect of the market you're entering. So again, your innovation doesn't have to be in that you are offering something completely new. It could be in the way you're offering it. It could be in the way your processes are streamlined to allow you to cut costs. So as you prepare for your assignments, just remember that when we talk about sensing, seizing, and transforming opportunities, opportunities can be something that we currently don't know exists. They can be new opportunities. And this assignment gives you the chance to see if you can identify and you can create or you can leverage opportunities. So this brings us to the end.
Thank you for watching Mini Lecture 2.2. As always, feel free to watch the video as many times as you need, and we look forward to seeing you in class.